Thank you. Well, it was great to see a brand new launch, and up next is a whole new set of amazing announcements by Remco from Worldcoin. Please welcome Remco on stage.
Hello, everyone. Let me not have this on autoplay. So, quick recap of what is Worldcoin. We are here to create the largest financial and identity network by giving its ownership to everyone. Now, what do we need? Why do we need it? AGI is around the corner. It is going to make it very hard to distinguish humans from machine-generated content online. It's going to disrupt wealth distribution, and we need a solution to this such that the world becomes fair and inclusive again. Also, we want to deliver on the original promise of DeFi, like where is the global decentralized pension fund? Where is the insurance? Where are all these things? Why are we still stuck with these non-functional primitives we have now? What do we need to build this thing? In order to solve these problems, we need a better concept of what a human being is on-chain. This is a big missing primitive. And to solve this, we created World App. This is an app that allows everyone to participate in the DeFi ecosystem as a unique human being. We've been running this for a while now, and a big announcement, we've recently passed more than 2 million users in our beta sign-up. Where are these users? Well, they've been growing at a steady pace. We'll be ramping this up soon. They are in more than 16 countries globally. And we have more than 500,000, monthly active users. So that's where we are currently with our project. What is World ID? World ID is a privacy-preserving proof of personhood. It allows you, in a self-sovereign, fully anonymous way, to prove to all sorts of decentralized applications that you are a unique human being. This has an SDK that everyone can build on. More on that later. Now, how do we know that you are a unique human being? For that, we have these wonderful devices called orbs. You can find some of them downstairs. What we found after exploring lots of options, we looked into KYC, we looked into fingerprints, we looked into all sorts of ways you can verify that someone is a unique human being. And in the end, we concluded that none of them can feasibly scale to 10 billion people except for irises. They can actually solve the birthday paradox at that scale. And if we do it right, we can do this in a very privacy-preserving way. So for that, we need the orb. This is a hardware device that can take your iris biometrics, make sure you're a real live human being and not someone trying to fraud the system. And when all that checks out, we can add your public key to the set of verified human beings. Now, very important in all this is that it's private by design. So during the sign-up, only a minimal set of information is collected on you, basically your biometrics and your public key. All the computation to turn your iris images into a uniqueness code is done on the orb itself. The raw images don't leave the orb unless you opt into that. You generate a public-private key pair on your mobile phone that is yours and yours alone. And when you use the system, it generates a semaphore zero-knowledge proof that you know the private key to a public key that is in the Merkle tree that lives on-chain without ever revealing which one it is. So whatever public key you share during the sign-up, you will never reveal it when you actually use it. This gives a very strong separation and makes you anonymous each time you use it on-chain. In practice, what this means is that, let's say you want to do an airdrop and you want to hand out a token to every human being exactly once. You can do this using our protocol by simply requesting a proof and making sure that this proof produces a thing called a nullifier, kind of a random number, and you just need to check that this nullifier hasn't appeared before. Now, if you have a voting system, for example, you could also do one person, one vote. And the anonymity in the system is so strong that even if you do multiple rounds of voting, you would not even be able to tell that 2 votes were made by the same user. The anonymity is on each instance of use. So, with this primitive, we've been touring around a bit, and thanks to mostly ETH Global, we now have more than 350 projects building on it and more than 1,000 developers building all sorts of interesting use cases that were not possible before because there was simply no reliable concept of a unique human being on-chain. So big shout out to ETH Globals because 95% of the projects came from ETH events. At the last Pragma in Lisbon, we announced that we were migrating to the Superchain. I want to do a quick update on that. So during the last couple of weeks, we've been migrating our users over. We think account abstraction is important, so all our users get a safe deployed on their behalf. So in the past couple of weeks, we've deployed a couple 100,000, I think 600,000 Gnosis safes in total on Optimism, which is kind of nearly all of them. And we learned a couple of important lessons along the way. So if you looked at the gas fees on the Optimism L2 recently, you may have seen that they shot up at some point. That first spike, I apologize, that's us. We were just using the gas oracle that was provided and basically blew up the blocks by all these deployments and spiked the gas price to almost as expensive as Ethereum L1. Now, why did it happen? The funny thing is that Ethereum L1 has, since pretty much 2017, been supply limited. All the blocks are full all the time, and whenever the price, whenever demand rises, the gas fees just go up to basically back people off that can no longer afford it. Like it's supply limited, so like no amount of fee you can offer will create more block space on Ethereum mainnet. Optimism is not yet there. Optimism right now doesn't have their blocks full, which means that under EIP 1559, the price will basically converge to near zero, where it is most of the time, until you start actively using it, and then the price just shoots up immediately because of the exponential growth. And there's no natural balance, there's no equilibrium there that is supply side constraint. Instead, it's demand limited. Like the price needs to go to zero and the blocks still aren't full yet. So when you actually start filling them up, you get effects like this. Now, the fix to this is simply to establish a reasonable maximum fee and basically rate limit yourself when you're doing these things. We did that on the 26th, and then somewhere around the 30th, I think, someone else made the same mistake again. So that's one lesson learned. Another interesting lesson is that everything costs the same on Optimism, except it is in much, much cheaper L2 gas, except one thing, calldata. Because it's a roll-up, so everything that goes in your transaction on a roll-up in calldata needs to be 1-to-1 sent to Ethereum L1. Optimism in Bedrock introduced some compression scheme, and it helps a bit. But in the end, all your L2 call data still becomes L1 call data, so you're still paying L1 prices for all your call data. So on Ethereum, the exchange rate between compute and call data was 16 gas per byte. On Optimism, this ratio is wildly different. You can be paying up to 10,000 L2 gas for each byte of call data. And this depends on how the prices between Optimism base fees and Ethereum base fees relate to each other. So it's also very unpredictable. But generally, it is at least between, like, let's say 300 and 10,000. That's a lot more budget to do fun things with. So one of the tricks we came up with is that we use a lot of zero knowledge proof, GROT16 of course, and they have elliptic curve points. There is this cute mathematical trick where an elliptic curve point, which has an x and y coordinate, you only store one coordinate and you use the math to recover the other one. This is very expensive, does not make sense on L1 to do it in Solidity. Turns out in Optimism it makes a lot of sense and it will save you a lot of gas if you do this. So that's been our learnings so far from our adventure on Optimism. Now, another big thing that we've been working on is the whole World ID SDK, the app and everything. And after 3 years of building, we've now officially launched the World ID SDK. They're open source, they're public. Everyone can now integrate our World ID app into their the app to get all sorts of things that might need civil protection. You can find it on id.worldcoin.org. And I hope to see all of you build more wonderful things on top of our proof of personhood protocol. Thank you.